An enslaved man once invented something so good that Jefferson Davis's family tried to steal it. And the United States government stopped them in the most evil way possible. Now, let me tell you this story because it answers a question I've been chasing all weekend. How many things did black people invent that white people took credit for? You'd think the answer is a number, but it's not. The answer is a crime scene. His name was Benjamin Montgomery. He was enslaved on a plantation owned by Jefferson Davis's brother. And Benjamin was brilliant. He learned engineering, ran the plantation's business operations, and invented a new steamboat propeller that could save boats from getting stranded in shallow water. Now watch what happens. Benjamin can't patent it, he's enslaved. Property can't own property. So the Davis brothers say, fine, we'll patent it. But the patent office says, no, you didn't invent it. And here's where the government had a choice. There's an invention, there's an inventor. Someone just has to admit that the black man has a mind. Instead, in 1858, the Attorney General of the United States issued a ruling. The enslaved man can't hold the patent. The owner, the enslaver, can't hold the patent. The invention belongs to no one. They would rather an invention legally not exist than put a black man's name on it. That one ruling tells you why my question has no answer. For 250 years, enslaved people were inventing constantly. They did the work so they saw how to do it better. The tools, the techniques, the machines, and every single idea that came out of an enslaved person's mind entered the world unsigned. The ledger of what we created wasn't lost. The ledger was never allowed to exist. Oh, and the Confederacy, they noticed this problem, and they fixed it. Their fix was a law letting enslavers patent whatever the people they enslaved invented. And the man who made sure that the Confederacy passed that law, Jefferson Davis. The same family that got told no wrote themselves a yes. Both governments looked at Black genius. One erased the name, and the other stole it. Neither ever said it didn't exist. They just made sure that you'd never read it. And when slavery ended, the stealing didn't. It just got more polite, I guess. There's a machine called the invention that fed the world, the mechanical reaper. Cyrus McCormick's name is on it. McCormick got the fortune. There's a company empire behind it. Joe Anderson, an enslaved man, built it side by side with him. Even McCormick's own company admitted it later. Say Joe Anderson to anybody and watch the blank stare. In the 1940s, surgeons figured out how to save blue babies, infants born with hearts that couldn't get oxygen to their bodies. The technique was invented by a man who spent years classified and paid as a janitor while doing surgical research. Vivian Thomas. During the first surgery, the famous white surgeon had Thomas stand on a step stool behind him, coaching him through the operation that he was about to get credit for. The procedure carried that surgeon's name for 75 years. The best-selling American whiskey on earth? A teenage boy named Jack Daniel learned how to make it from an enslaved master distiller that everybody called Uncle Nearest. The bottle got Jack's name. Nearest Green's name didn't officially come out of the company's mouth until 2016. I was alive. I'm sure you were too. And the light bulb in your ceiling right now? Edison's version burnt out in days. The carbon filament that made light bulbs actually last? That was Lewis Latimer, who also drafted the patent drawings for Bell's telephone. Two of the most famous inventions in human history have one black man's fingerprints inside them. And school handed you two other names, didn't they? Because behind every case that we can document, there's that 1858 ruling. And behind that ruling, 250 years of inventions that were never allowed to have our names on them. So how many things did black people invent that got credited to white folks? More than anyone can ever prove. And that's not me guessing. That's what the system was built to guarantee. Some thefts you can count. They made this one uncountable. Because the most successful thing that white America ever invented was the eraser.
Shalom. Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all the praises, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rahaha, Kodash, and double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the elders at Great Millstone. Shalom as well to all you sincere brothers, and shalom to you few sisters, that be of the household of faith. Now, I actually did a video on this, a couple of weeks back, but as of recent, I've been, coming across, the algorithm has been showing me a lot of videos of this woman here, and she's bringing out a lot of, important, information about history. Okay, things in which, the fool system, all right, that's what we call it, the fool system, you know, has tried to has tried to suppress and not allow you Israelites to know your worth, and ultimately what you are capable of, and the things in which our forefathers have invented, etc., etc. Okay, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, he wants to he wants to it's like he wants to erase that. And it's actually ironic that she mentioned towards the end that the only thing that the white people have invented was an eraser. Okay, but ultimately there's a lot of good information here, and ultimately what Esau does is he's doing the exact same thing here today as well. Okay, how many things have Jake somewhere in West Africa or somewhere in Africa, all right, or even in the Western world have invented, all right, and as soon as it went on mainstream media, all right, or someone posted something about it, you don't ever see those individuals ever again. There was one Jake, I believe, who was able to use plastic, all right, plastic waste, all right, as fuel for vehicles, man. Okay, you see, and everything was running efficiently, all right, you name it, all right, and he knew, all right, that people are going to be coming after him, because ultimately what's happening is that Esau Edom sees that, he's gonna, do his calculation and be like, yo, you're messing up with my money. And he's not gonna want that, to be something that, the society uses. All right. You see? So what does he do? He deletes a lot of people, man. Okay. And even going back to everything in which, this woman was able to bring out. All right. These are things that you can actually find yourself. Just go on Google. Okay. A lot of the things in which is being used in today's society was created by Jake. But whose name is on it? The Edomites. Okay. And this is why the scripture said that we are the former of all things. Let's get that precept real quick. Then you will understand really, okay, that the Israelites, this is our world, man. Okay. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 16, in the AMP version, okay, Amplified Bible. All right. It says right here, the portion of Jacob, okay, the true God on whom Israel has a claim is not like these, for he is the designer and the maker of all things, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance, and he will make, and it's like, and he will not fail them. The Lord of hosts is his name. Okay, and when you read it, in the KJV version, okay, it says right here, it says the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name, man. Okay, we are the creators, all right, of all things. All these inventions. You can look it up, man. Okay, everything in which you're using today is created by Jake. There's an Israelite somewhere that came up with the invention. Okay, you see? Because ultimately the Lord Yahweh Bashimasha deals with knowledge. And because we are the sons of the Lord, the scripture says that ye are gods. But all of you are the children, of the Most High Yahweh Bashimasha, and ye shall die like men. Okay? You see? And so ultimately, what's going to happen, all right, is, what the scriptures say about the curses. Us being under this man, okay, he's going to take the credit for everything, man. Okay? But we're coming into a time where the Lord Yahweh Bashimasha is revealing the truth. And the truth is that this man is the damn devil, and the word devil means deceiver. So he has deceived the people into, having the people, believe that he is a god, man. Okay, so the people look at him and they fear, because they look at today's society thinking that this man actually built it. He hasn't. He doesn't really know anything, man. Really. He's an unruly child, given power by the Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and that's it. But everything, everything runs because of Jake. The scripture said that we are the salt of the earth, man. Okay? How will this world function without the Israelites? It won't. Okay? Now let's get another precept. The book of Wisdom of Solomon, all right, chapter 5, verse 1. It says, Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors, man. Okay, let's get that in a different version as well. Now, this is in the New Revised Standard Version. All right, it says, Then the righteous will stand with great confidence in the presence of those who have oppressed them and those who make light of their laborers, man. Okay, and so ultimately, who is that? Esau Edom. Esau Edom, he makes light of our labor. He as scriptures say in the KJV version, he made no account of his labors, man. Okay, let's get that in the KJV here real quick. Okay, again, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 verse 1, it says, Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors, man. Okay, a lot of these Edomites, they see something that Jake has created, they take it, patent it, put their name on it, and goes on and spreads false information. All right, and have the people thinking that he's a creator when really he isn't, man. Okay, and again, as I mentioned, everything that is being used in today's society, okay, was created by the Israelites. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that out, Lord Yahweh Bashim Masha willing it was edifying until some shalom. Yahweh Bashim Masha Barakatah.